If you want more high quality leads and more consistency in your freelancing income, your website needs to attract more of the right people and answer the 7 critical questions that turn them into paying clients. Most freelancers get this wrong. So in this video, I'm going to show you the exact website content formula I've used to sell my high ticket services and grow my business even as I've switched up my niche over the last 8 years. This method works even if you're brand new to freelancing, and it doesn't require a ton of time or advanced web design skills to set up. In fact, all you have to do is create one page with a few key sections. I'm going to show you exactly what those sections are, and I'm even going to give you my copy templates so you know exactly what to write. I'll also give you some examples from my website, so you might want to take some notes for this one. To start, you need to understand where your website fits into your business strategy and why it's essential when you're trying to find clients. Your website is not just a glorified portfolio, which is how I see a lot of freelancers use it. When you set it up right, your website is one of the most powerful tools that you have to grow your business. The whole point of your website is to pre-qualify and warm up your leads so that by the time you have a conversation with someone, they're already 80% sold on working with you. Think of it like a storefront for your business. They should be able to tell by looking in the window whether they want to go inside or not. But where are these people coming from who are peering in your window? There are 3 ways someone might come across your website. On a search engine like Google, which means they're actively searching for freelance support. Now, this will likely be a very small percentage of your web traffic, and it takes some time usually to get this traffic coming in. But this is really valuable because when people are searching for help on Google, it means that they are ready to solve their problem. The second way is your cold outreach and your marketing. So maybe they got your cold email or they came across you on LinkedIn and they're checking out your website to make sure you're legit. A strong website is the piece that a lot of freelancers are missing in their outreach or marketing strategy. So if you're struggling in this department, this could be why, or at least a big part of the problem. And the third way someone might come across your website is that they are referred to your website, usually by another client or another freelancer. That's the other great thing about a website, is that it makes referring you really easy. All someone has to do is share one link. If you want to get really high quality leads from inbound and your outbound marketing efforts, your website needs to be written for both search engines and real people. Writing for search engines means using keywords and structuring them in a way that the search engine can read easily. Writing for real people just means using language they understand. Now, if the idea of learning SEO and researching keywords stresses you out, here's the good news. When you write clearly for real people, you tend to naturally incorporate keywords into your content. So instead of trying to be clever with flowery language or industry jargon, just use small words and simple explanations. And now we're going to look at exactly how to do that. There are 7 questions your website needs to answer, and the first one is, what do you do? The easy way to answer this question is to just think about how you would answer it if someone asked you in conversation. So, what do you do? Well, I'm a freelance, fill in the blank. When someone lands on your website, it should be immediately clear to them what role you can fill in their business, as well as who you specialize in helping. So that's the second question. And that really just means you need to call out who your ideal client is. And the really simple way to do this is to just have a headline at the very top of your website that says what you do for who you help. So maybe you're a freelance social media manager for beauty brands, or a video editor for coaches. Mine says freelance marketing manager for ethical e-commerce brands. Now you might look at these headlines and think, well, these are all really similar. That's boring. But guess what? Boring works. If you try to be too clever, you're going to lose people, especially people who have never heard of you before who are clicking on your website for the first time. This headline template is also pretty much a surefire way to make sure you're going to bake some keywords into your content. I also want to point out that you don't have to use the word freelance in your headline, but in a lot of cases it makes sense because that's often what people are searching for on Google. It also makes it clear that you are a contractor for hire rather than an agency or someone that's available to hire for a conventional job. There are a few situations where this won't be the case, but for most of you watching, this will work. Okay, once someone understands what you do and who you help, you need to answer the question, what problem do you solve? This might seem redundant after you've already called out what you do, but here's the thing. Your title doesn't paint a clear picture of how you help your clients. For example, if I say I'm a social media manager, well, that's actually a very broad title. One social media manager could specialize in growing personal brands, And another could specialize in selling physical products through short form video. Same title, different problems. So put some thought into the core problem that you solve for your clients and how it helps them reach their goal outcome. And there are a lot of ways that you could describe this, but I'll give you two really simple templates. For the first one, you'll start with what it is and how it helps achieve the outcome. I think this is most impactful when you can see it with the first headline. So let's start with the example I shared earlier of freelance social media manager for beauty brands. So here's a subheader that complements that explains the exact problem that this freelancer solves. Video-driven strategy that converts scrolling beauty mavens into raving fans. So it explains what this freelancer specializes in, which is video-driven strategy, and the goal outcome that it achieves, converting scrolling beauty mavens into raving fans. Another way to convey this is with an I help statement. And although you've already explained who you help in your website, you want to try to switch up the language and get a little bit more specific. Here's mine for an example. I help lean teams build streamlined marketing systems that drive impact and revenue. Do you see how this messaging gets right down to the value of what you offer as soon as someone lands on your website? Well, we need to keep that clarity coming because there are still 4 questions to answer before a visitor considers becoming a client. So question 4 is, why you? Why are you the person they should consider working with? And this is where your about section comes in. Now, the about section is something that's really easy to get tripped up on. It's not just freelancers, and it's especially daunting if you are new to freelancing. But let me ease your worries by telling you that it's actually not about you. It's about your clients and the value that you bring to them. So here's my about section as an example. I introduce myself. I explain that I'm an e-commerce marketer for brands that care about people and the planet. So I'm saying, again, who I'm for, just in a different way. Over 7 years in digital marketing, I've supported campaigns for brands in all these different industries. Now I help founders and small teams grow with the systems, strategies, and storytelling tactics that drive lasting impact. Now, I want to touch on the part where I talk about my 7 years of experience. If you don't have experience to talk about like that, it's okay. You can pretty much just skip that aspect of it. And your about section does not have to be long. I actually remembered that my old about section was literally, 2 sentences? And it's not even that great. This is what I was using about 5 years ago, and I had to dig it out of the deep archives of my Google Docs, but here we go. I build and implement social media marketing strategies based on data and just a smidge of intuition. Helping ideas that are good for people and the planet shine on social media makes me tick because it's where important missions spread and take root. Now, I'll be the first to say that this is far from the most profound thing that I've ever written, but it was actually really effective for that season of my business. And I did have clients tell me that it resonated with them because they appreciated that I was being data-driven when a lot of social media managers back then especially were just like operating off vibes, and also that I was actually passionate about their mission. So those are some things that you can consider touching on. Also, a pro tip, I highly recommend including a real photo of you, clear picture of your face in your about section to help create a real human connection. But even with a human connection, someone who's looking at your website, the logical part of their brain is going to be asking, where's the proof? They need to see something that makes your work feel tangible. And there are 3 ways to give proof. You can have a portfolio section, or a button that links out to your portfolio wherever you're hosting that. You can also include testimonials, which honestly I have admittedly completely slept on because I've just had the same clients for so long that I don't even think about asking for testimonials. I probably should just, my insurance policy, get those on my website. And when you post testimonials, if you can, include a photo of the person who gave that to you. Again, it creates human connection. It also lets clients know that this is a real testimonial from a real business. I mean, in this age of AI, you need to do everything that you can to show people that you are legit. And the third way is client logos. And I say this with like a little asterisk next to it for a couple reasons. So I really consider this to be supplementary to your portfolio and your testimonials. It's not a replacement for those things, but it is a nice way to give anyone who's viewing your website an idea of the types of businesses that you've worked with. That said, it's not essential. Like if you're just getting started, don't sweat that you don't have this. Definitely add it in when you can, but don't feel weird because you can't add that little fancy strip to your website with all the logos on it. Also, anyone can technically grab a brand's logo and slap it on their website and make it look like they had a client. This kind of goes back to that AI generation thing. It is good to have the logos. Just know that, if someone asks you, hey, what kind of work did you do for so-and-so? Or I saw that you worked with this brand, I happen to know someone there. Just make sure everything that you're doing is super legit, because that's the whole point of all of this social proof, is to give proof that you are legitimate. And for those of you who are just starting out, if you're like, I don't have a portfolio, I don't have anything, do imaginary work for a mock client. Just obviously be transparent about that on your website, however you present it. But that is what I did in the beginning. I literally had a Google Doc with some emails that I had written for an imaginary brand. And my clients that I was pitching ended up loving that and ended up actually using some of the ideas from that email flow that I created in their marketing. You really just need to find a way to showcase your expertise. And if you are coming at this with some experience, maybe some testimonials from clients, or some, professional work experience, and you can maybe get some testimonials even just from colleagues, do it, because anything that you add here is really going to help. Okay, at this point, any prospective clients that are looking at your website know who you are, what you do, who you help, and that you are legitimate. And now they're going to be curious. What do your services look like? And this is actually a two-part question, because at the same time, they're going to wonder, and how much do they cost? So you just need a section with a description of your services and their prices. Some people are weird about listing prices on their website, but I found that it helps communicate the level of services that you offer, and it weeds out the clients who have a super low budget. And here's the thing about premium clients, the kind of clients that are happy to pay for work as long as it gets them results. They will be suspicious if your rates are too low. So in my mind, you really can't go wrong listing your prices. That said, there may be some scenarios where you don't want to list every pricing detail, like maybe you have a range of prices and you really need to talk to the client to understand what you're even going to recommend in their situation. Or maybe there is just one particular service that you're offering where the price tag might be a little bit scary if you don't have a chance to have a conversation to go along with it. And in those cases, let me introduce you to two magic words: starting at, and then just list the lowest available price. So if your ideal client is checking out your website, they've seen your services, they're not afraid of the price, their next question is going to be, how do I work with you? What next step do they need to take to move this process along? And this is where I'm going to give a strong opinion warning, because I firmly believe that in 99% of cases, that next step is to book a call. I know the introverts are screaming, and I did too in the beginning. Now, if you have really low ticket services, you might be able to get away with a contact form or just a link out to your email. Get ready for a lot of spam if you do that, by the way. But if you want the kind of clients that pay you enough to do more than cover your internet bill, and you want those long-term, high-value relationships, your clients are going to expect to get on a call with you before they sign a contract. And the way you're going to do this is to set up a booking link with a tool like Calendly. This is free for you to set up, and it lets the client book a time on your calendar right then and there when they are all hyped up, having found your website and having found someone who might be the perfect person to solve their problem. Then you're going to put a call to action button that links to that booking link in multiple places on your website. You'll include it at the top of your website below those two headlines that you wrote. I usually like to include it somewhere around my services and then also somewhere near the end. So you might put a one-line headline of something like, ready to learn more, ready to get started, book a call. It can also be helpful to specify the length of the call. I think mine is 20 minutes. It might be 30 minutes. You could say book a free 20-minute call so that it's very clear to them what this call is going to look like. I do also like to include a link to this in the top menu. So for those who are on desktop, the link to book a call is always there in the top right corner of the website. And the thing about these call to action buttons is if people aren't ready to click them, they kind of just ignore them. So don't worry about being too obnoxious or too obvious here. Figuring out what words to put on your website is the first step. And I've given you some templates to speed up that process. Once you have all of that content ready to go, setting up your website should be pretty simple. If you use a simple template on a website builder like Wix or Squarespace or Showit, you should be able to have a website up and running in a day. And once it's built, you'll just have to make small tweaks to keep things like your portfolio and your pricing updated. Now here's the really cool thing. Your website is one piece of a larger strategy that can help you attract your dream clients and reach your income goal every single month without wasting time on Upwork and Fiverr. So make sure you watch this video next, where I break down the step-by-step roadmap on how to make that happen.